In the early days of this channel, we talked about the game Evoland, a game jam title by Shiro Games that was fleshed out into a full, if not short, PC release. It was a charming game that provided a humorous commentary on the evolution of video game design, with upgrades you would find in the game that changed the game's graphics from old Game Boy style sprites to early 3D, maybe late era PlayStation 1 models. You'd go from fighting monsters in a very basic Zelda-like adventure style to a turn-based battle mode similar to Final Fantasy, and even play through small sections that mimicked other RPG or adventure games. I knew Evoland was supposed to be brief, but I always felt that the game pushed you through each section at too quick of a pace, and that the evolution of graphics were, while quirky and funny in moments, happening far too quickly, and that the player lacked the time to appreciate the changes in style. But Evoland's idea always seemed cool to me, even if the changes in graphics were largely just for aesthetic purposes, and the plot was mostly a bunch of cliches and references. 2015's Evoland 2, a slight case of space-time continuum disorder, aims to be much more than its predecessor. With a proper plot and a length averaging about 20 hours, as well as a variety of different gameplay styles and mechanics, Evoland 2 improves on the concept, pacing, and style of the original game by focusing on being a full and proper game experience. Expanding on a mechanic present in one area of the original game where you would travel between 3D and 2D styles in order to negotiate certain obstacles and puzzles, Evoland 2 takes place in 4 distinct eras, with the past denoted by lower detailed, smaller sprites, drawing inspiration from NES or Game Boy Color games, the present showcasing much more detailed sprites and environments like something you'd see on a late-era Super Nintendo game or an early PlayStation 1 title. When you travel to the future, the look advances into the 3rd dimension, with character models and landscapes getting that nice PlayStation 2 style look. The 4th era is known as Antiquity, and while you'll not spend a lot of time there, it features the same sprites as the past, but in a monochromatic greens of an original Game Boy, complete with a pixel grid overlay. And while you won't go from early unpolished polygons to detailed 3D models in Evoland 2, the change in graphical display is used nicely to help tell a story that revolves around a wild time-traveling plot featuring a mute main character who wakes up with amnesia. From a war between demons and the human empire, to changing history to prevent a weapon from destroying the world, Evoland 2 makes heavy use of the back-and-forth time travel mechanic, and does it without calling explicit attention to the graphics changing. They're just part of the narrative now, and not the joke, and Evoland 2 is a much stronger game for it. Now that doesn't mean Evoland 2 is now a serious and gritty adventure title. The game is still chock full of references to pop culture, movies, and games, and while lighthearted in tone, the plot is enjoyable and the jokes are largely very funny, with references that show that the creators are fans of the work that inspires them, while not letting them impede on the original story Evoland 2 is telling. Evoland 2's main gameplay is the basic sword-slashing, bushwhacking, puzzle-solving kind that fans of games like Link's Awakening will be familiar with. It's a no-flares affair, with your companions largely reserved to providing special attacks that not only hurt enemies but also help crush obstacles, activate switches, or create pathways. You'll gain levels and power up as you explore, and certain boss fights can be challenging, though rarely is leveling up necessary to actually best any of these encounters. While the original game largely focused on RPG and adventure game styles, Evoland 2 takes its extended pace and larger setting to have some fun with the player's expectations, and put you in different gameplay segments that shift things around, while still feeling, amazingly enough, like a connected experience. You'll be sneaking past guards to escape a prison, taking to the skies and shoot 'em up, fighting in puzzle battles, and even matching the notes of a rockin' magician. While never an exact replica of their source material, these snippets of gameplay break up the main adventure style nicely, and almost always they took me by surprise, like when you fight a religious madman in a Street Fighter style one-on-one bout. That could have easily been a standard boss encounter, but instead it's a fun, if not a little challenging for me, switch up that takes the evolution of gaming idea and not restricted to just showing different kinds of RPG modes, though that's still here as well. There really is a whole mess of different gameplay styles here, and while some are better than others, or last longer for the sake of the narrative, they never outstay their welcome or feel tacked on, though you often won't revisit any of these gameplay sections once you've completed them outside of the platforming style areas, which you'll actually encounter pretty frequently. And at just under 20 hours in each of my 2 playthroughs of the game, I thought the pacing was just right for the amount of stuff there is to do in Evoland 2, and the music and graphics, no matter what era you're visiting, have their own unique charm and were very well done. Evoland 2 is a lot of fun, with plenty of its own charm to spare. The writing is cute and lighthearted, and the references it makes are sometimes obvious and sometimes nicely folded in. Evoland 2 never takes a in-your-face, look-at-me style of telling its jokes, which lots of folks who create parody media could probably take a page from. As time travel plots are wont to do, you might be scratching your head over the story every so often. I know I was, but Evoland 2's narrative, gameplay, and humor make it an experience well worth your time, and seeing all the ways it toys with the ideas of other gameplay styles just makes it even more fun. And I honestly think now that there is a lot that could still be done with this type of idea, this evolution of games idea, especially with the time travel aspect. Maybe the next game features the ancient past as a text parser adventure game maybe. That could be fun.